This September I visited Georgia and I was especially impressed by a small town called Zaltubo. Zaltubo was a popular resort town in the Soviet era, attracting around 125,000 visitors a year. It had bathhouses and luxurious hotels. Joseph Stalin even had a private pool there. The Soviet Union collapsed in 1991 and soon the resort town was abandoned. This is how one of Zaltubo's hotels, Medea, looks now. In these deserted post-apocalyptic landscapes, one cannot help but have some thoughts of existential nature. It is hard to put into words what I experienced there. I was not scared, but there was a feeling of unease, anxiety, but also nostalgia and longing? Nostalgia. Nostalgia is an ambiguous emotion. In his book The Aesthetics of Decay, Trigg points out that in medical history the term nostalgia originally implied a solely physical condition, defined in terms of space rather than time. Deriving from the Greek nostos, to return home, and algos, pain, the word was coined by a 17th century Swiss medical student Johannes Hofer. Hofer described nostalgia as homesickness to the point of pathology and used it to diagnose the condition of soldiers relocated from their homes. To overpower the nostalgia, soldiers were advised to avoid anything that reminded of their home, and medical treatment included leeches, purges, body restraints, and, of course, bloodletting. But after the 19th century, the tone with which nostalgia was discussed changed. It no longer is something solely spatial that happens due to external factors, but something that is an integral part of human condition. Everyone experienced it to one extent or another. Nowadays, psychologists even discover positive effects of nostalgia. For instance, nostalgia can support us during difficult times. In contemporary media studies and aesthetics, nostalgia is usually associated with the term retromania, which is an obsession with past things or events or experiences. Retromania is everywhere, in filters that make our pictures vibey, which I love. I'm obsessed with Polaroid and VHS filters. Retromania is in fashion, in cinema, even in internet folklore. Contemporary philosophers like Mark Fisher, Frederick Jameson, and Simon Reynolds are skeptical about retromania, because contemporary media companies exploit our nostalgia and make a ton of profit by releasing franchises and remakes of old movies, music, and games. But retromania does not take place only in popular culture and aesthetics. According to philosopher Mikhail Epstein, for certain places retromania can become ontological. And the ontological retromania can be dangerous because the past is a scarce resource. If we cannot produce anything new, well, that is a catastrophe for all. If we are nostalgic for our own past, it is clear why we long for that. Of course, the ice cream tasted better when we were 5 years old, and playing video games was much more exciting. But what about nostalgia that is brought by something that is not conventionally comforting? Abandoned buildings are weirdly compelling. They are spaces that you enter and they just feel dreamlike and frankly nightmarish. Yeah, I've never been there before, but somehow I remember it. Recently, the internet has become preoccupied with so-called liminal spaces, transitional spaces like hallways, waiting rooms, parking lots that bring unique feeling of eeriness and nostalgia when they are outside of their intended context, abandoned or useless. Images of liminal spaces are collected in subreddits. They inspired a lot of internet folklore and even analog horror movies like Backrooms series by Kane Pixels. People in comment sections of these subreddits or videos usually report that they experience weird, uncanny nostalgia while looking at them. Nostalgia about something they've never experienced. There is even a special term for that, anemoia. So why does this happen? The first and the most obvious answer is that we live in a time of visual and information overload. And no matter how much we wish to consume only new and innovative media, we inevitably will watch old movies, read classical books, see photos of our parents from when they were young. Everything is documented now, so you don't need to experience something firsthand in order to have an idea of what a recent past looked like. So anemoia, in a way, is a result of a visual literacy. But there is more to that. I feel like in the discourse around nostalgia, it is frequently forgotten that our memories and our relationships to the past and space are tricky and fragile. In his Poetics of Space, Gaston Bachelard explores how our imagination fills a space with spirit and meaning, and how the space, in return, evokes feelings, memories, and, what is the most important for the topic of this video, fantasies. Bachelard especially is focused on the poetic image, an unconscious thought that does not require knowledge or first-hand experience and is the direct product of our spirit. Bachelard even goes as far as to say that it is always more enriching to imagine than to experience. Abandoned buildings, for instance, have lyrical possibilities of creating memories. Liminal abandoned spaces are not only magnetic but also deeply uncanny. In one of his essays, Sigmund Freud introduced the term uncanny and described it as a disturbing familiarity experienced in certain places that led to a conflict between bodily and mentally understanding. We are so used to the idea that we inhabit rational spaces that when we encounter abandoned places out of their context of being useful and inhabitable, we experience cognitive dissonance. While wandering in this abandoned hotel, I could compare it to a hotel I was living in a day ago, which was full of life and people, but in Medea there was no one around. In the Aesthetics of Decay, Trigg writes, "The phenomenology of involuntary memory resounds with melancholic fascination as we encounter an object that, while still persisting in space and time, is displaced from its native context and so points to an elsewhere that is no longer." It is this conflict between the familiarity of any hotel and this particular abandoned one that makes this whole experience uncanny. Although I'm a bit vigilant about the omnipresence of nostalgia in modern culture, I think that nostalgia has creative possibilities worth exploring, and it is exciting to see more and more examples of the internet folklore that draws inspiration from abandoned or liminal spaces. As long as our memory and imagination play hand in hand to create and not destroy, I'm up for that. The worst case scenario is when we reach the point when there will be no one to observe the ruins.